Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. I'm Mark Goldbridge and you got to hear me out on this. England will win the Euros. I've been saying it for months. We're going to win the Euros. Am I in the minority? Get your comments in. Am I really in the minority on this one? Because I think we will. But many of you will say, you're always talking about how bad Southgate is. How can England win the Euros with Gareth Southgate in charge? Because managers are so important. And you're absolutely correct. There is a big issue. There is a Southgate dilemma. But I believe that England will win it because we've got such a strong, centric collection of big players that will win it despite Southgate. But it is the big concern. When you look at Harry Kane, one of the best strikers in the world, Saka, one of the best wingers in the world, Foden and Bellingham, two of the best players in the world at the moment, Declan Rice, one of the best holding midfielders in the world. Then you got the likes of potentially Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire, John Stones, Cole Palmer, Kyle Walker. There's so many experienced, good players that England team can count on. And it's international football as well. But look, get your comments in because how important is the manager? And I have to say, we should have won the Euros in 2020. I don't hear this enough, actually. There's two things I want to say, and this is what this video is. The big Gareth Southgate dilemma. And maybe I'm being a bit lenient because I want to be positive about England. But the big problem is, if you think of this like an analogy, if you go down your local pub and the girl of your dreams walks in, or the boy of your dream walks in, and you go, whoa, they've got everything. The looks, the personality, the perfume, whatever, the clothing, the banter, they've got it all. And then someone else walks in, a mere mortal, they're not quite hitting those levels. Basically a 10 out of 10 walks in and a 5 out of 10 walks in. Or at your local restaurant, it's Michelin star, and then the next day you just go and get a dirty takeaway. What I'm saying is, in life, there are levels. There is elite, there is bad, there is everything in between. And what we don't acknowledge when we're talking about the Southgate dilemma is he's just not Pep Guardiola. He's not Jurgen Klopp. I don't think he's even Eddie Howe. I would argue he's not even Silva at Fulham. I would argue he's not even good enough to get a Premier League job. He's just a coach doing a job that he's not actually very good at. That's the dilemma. And I don't think some people in the media and some people in the fans in football understand that there are levels to this game. There are Vinicius Juniors, there are Marcus Albrightons. There are Sergio Ramoses and there are Titus Brambles. There are levels to everything. And the problem with England is we can't, when I watch England against Bosnia, or when I watch England play in the internationals or in World Cups or Euros, we're never that good. We're never that entertaining. But that's because Southgate can't make them do that. What Pep Guardiola does or what Jurgen Klopp does is because they're very good coaches. And if life was so simple, we wouldn't need Pep Guardiolas and Jurgen Klopps if Gareth Southgate could do it. So England's big problem going into this tournament is simply to do with levels. Gareth Southgate is not an elite coach. So when England fans are going, well, we didn't play very well against Bosnia, we didn't play very well against France, is because we have got players that can do it, but the guy who moulds that team, he isn't that level, and the coaches around him aren't that level. And it's like entering a Vauxhall Astra in a Formula One race. It'll get round the track, but it won't be as quick as the Ferrari or the Red Bull. It won't be anywhere near, because it's about the levels. So yeah, look, take a step back. Southgate's shit. Southgate's the guy. The song about Southgate. But ultimately, he's just not that level of a coach. So expecting England to start playing prime football is not going to actually happen. What we're talking about here is, I think England will win the Euros, but I don't think we should expect to, rewrite footballing history and go down as one of the greatest international. We're not going to be Brazil 1970. We're going to be more Greece 2004. It's going to have to be methodical and at times painful, but I believe that we have the quality and experience in that squad to win this, despite Southgate's limitations. And of course, there will be the bigger games later in the tournament where you might hit a France or a Portugal, and it might be problematic because in-game management, he's just not that. Look at Ancelotti at half-time in the Champions League. Dortmund, arguably the better team in the first half. the experience and GOAT nature of Ancelotti is that he can get into those players' heads and tactically change things, but also mentally change things because they believe, and he's an elite level coach. England don't have that. So when I say Southgate's our biggest issue, the FA should listen, the media should listen, and fans should listen. Because actually, to be fair to Southgate, he just isn't anywhere near the level of a coach that would make you confident about England comfortably winning this tournament. He is the weak link in our chances because he isn't, and it's not his fault, and it's not his coach's fault, they're just not that level. You know, they're not walking into the bar and people are going to go, wow, 10 out of 10, they've got the lot. They're walking into the bar and no one's really taking any notice. And I don't think people understand that. And it's the same at Liverpool, isn't it? If Arne Slot comes in and wins the title for Liverpool next season, and Liverpool fans will want that to happen, well, what was Jurgen Klopp then? If Jurgen Klopp is such a genius, how can another manager just walk in? Unless that manager is a genius. And maybe he is going to be a genius, or maybe he's just not on the level of Jurgen Klopp. We need to appreciate the brilliance of these managers and what they do. That's what we need to do. Because if we don't do that, then we don't understand the game. And the limitations of saying Southgate's not that good is because he just isn't that good. He isn't at that level. As I said, it's almost like some people, especially in the media, because they like Southgate, they want to pretend that he's something that he's not. And in life and in football, you know, you spend £100 million on a player, you spend £5 million on a player. The £5 million player is not going to be at the level of the £100 million player. And we've got a low-level manager who is doing his best, but he ain't a high-level manager, and we shouldn't pretend that he isn't. And added into that as well, it doesn't get mentioned enough, is that, you know, Southgate should have gone after the World Cup for me. I don't know why the FA kept him, because they like him probably, because he's a nice guy. But he's never really been judged as a failure. And if he wins the Euros, of course he won't be a failure. He'll go up there with Sir Alf Ramsey being the only England manager who's actually won anything. But I look at what he's achieved as England manager, and right, getting to the semi-finals of the 2018 World Cup was pretty impressive. But the 2020 Euros, or whenever it was played because of COVID, we should have won. We should have won that. It was a home tournament. We were 1-0 up against Italy, and he blew it in game management. Like, we should have won that game. We're at home, we're 1-0 up. He absolutely bottled it and parked the bus and lost on penalties. And Italy deserved to win. He bottled that. That was a failure. It was a humiliation. It was a failure. And the World Cup against France, I think we should have beat them. I'm not saying we would have gone on to win the World Cup. Maybe we would, maybe we wouldn't. But we should have gone to the final because we should have beat France. And his game management, again, we had more of the ball. We had the better players. And he bottled it. So I don't think people understand. Maybe you need to be a bit older. I've seen golden generations where we should have done better under Sven. We got very close under Sir Bobby and Terry Venables. But Southgate isn't the level of coach as that we had then. And the cold, harsh fact is, he does get lenient treatment in relation to the fact that we're so obsessed with this could be the year that we finally win something, but we should have won it in the last Euros, and we should have gone to the final in the last World Cup. We were good enough both times, and the thing that stopped us was the manager. So when I look at these Euros, we're definitely good enough to win it. We're probably favourites to win it. The problem is Southgate. If you put Eddie Howe in charge, or you put Mourinho in charge, or certainly a Pep Guardiola in charge, or a Jurgen Klopp, you win it. Or a Zidane, you win it. It's not offensive to say the biggest issue we've got is Southgate. But I still think despite him, we will win it, because I think the volume of good players and also the experience, you know, Harry Kane playing in Munich, Bellingham winning the Champions League for Real Madrid, Saka's growing all the time at Arsenal, Foden's growing all the time at Man City, Rice at Arsenal's took him up to a level. I think the players will win us this Euros despite Southgate. Get your comments in below, smash a like on the video and subscribe. Don't forget to check out the new podcast, Why I'm Leaving TalkSport, talking about the Beta Squad charity game. And the favourite part of the podcast was an end-of-season review for all Premier League teams, a grade for all of them, which has been a bit controversial. So check out the podcast, give it a listen. I'll speak to you on the next one.